11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at noon Eastern. That's 9 a.m. Pacific for about an hour each day. We'll do 3 gun-related topics with different topics throughout the week. We pick those topics or the subjects for those topics on Monday. So if you'd like to be part of the creation of the show, join us on Mondays. We run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the comments from people that are joining us live. When it's all over, we take the best of as the audio of the best of shows and post those over on iTunes as podcasts. So we appreciate everybody that listens to the show now, live or in the future. We also appreciate the people that take the time to interact with whatever platform you might be listening on, subscribing to our channel, liking and clicking up the videos themselves, leaving comments. All those actions let us know you're out there, so we do appreciate it, but it also helps the systems recommend us to more listeners, and that is one of our goals. So we appreciate the people that help us to reach those goals. We've got hosts. We've got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining.
Hey, glad to be here.
Then we got Jimmy running the show up in Phoenix.
Hey, very good to be here.
And I'm down here in Tucson right now. So got a bunch of people joining in right from the get-go. So thanks everybody who thanks everybody who joins us live. And I guess this is episode 434, so it's Thursday. We'll be talking about CCW and training issues. Of course, we have our gun shop of the day and the gun show of the day, guns of the day, and all the other things. But before we dig in, we usually take a break at the beginning to see if anything happened overnight. Anything that's worth talking about?
I got nothing, man. Just news. That was it.
Me neither. I was actually went out for supper and had myself a nice big steak, so missed most of the night.
Damn, going out to dinner was either so extravagant that it took up Bob's entire night, or he just didn't have that much to do, so that took up his entire night.
Hey, late start on the dinner, and it was a big dinner.
All right, well, so I guess we'll dig in then. So first subject, CCW. Do single action revolvers still have a defensive purpose? Single action revolvers.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any gun's better than no gun.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So we're talking about single action revolvers, meaning you have to cock the hammer back to pull the trigger on it. And that means as you draw, you have to either be pulling the hammer and then you've got a hair trigger out there, or somehow readjust your grip. So that's probably not the way to do it. Readjust your grip while you're holding the gun out. So to me, it just seems like an unnecessary amount of extra burden to put on you at like the most stressful time in your life. Can't see the purpose of that.
Well,
I guess. Oh, go ahead.
Now go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just going to say, I could see you. I 100% agree with your argument as a primary carry. But I mean, there's people that carry around those little NAA mags or little, mini single action revolvers or something like that, little J frames or whatever. I mean, that as a backup, dire straits, maybe like a third gun or something like that. I could see it being useful.
Now, I want to just mention, I just watched a documentary about this mercenaries, and the one mercenary leader actually happened to carry a single action behind his back, and he could fire that thing just like a semi-automatic, and it was like he was fanning it, I think. But man, with practice, I think you can run that thing just like anything else. But the whole point is you need practice. It's quite a weird mercenary documentary, though.
Whatever. That was a situation where the Cubans and Russians had invaded the country, so it's hardly CCW anymore.
Oh, actually, these guys were going up to other countries, yeah. It's a bunch of old mercenaries. Huh?
I don't know what your movie you're talking about then.
We'll discuss it for
So single action, having to draw, like say, having to do all that other stuff, ridiculous. Because there's a hammer on there and it's a necessity for the operation of the gun. You've always got that thing sticking there, out, in your way, waiting to jab on stuff and get caught on stuff. Are we locked on Bob?
No,
I don't know.
It's not fair to the audience.
no, not. I wouldn't do that to the people.
So yeah, I don't think it's. It was a development in the firearm in the machine itself, but just so what? A lot of stuff doesn't mean we have to carry it around with us all the time. So I think that's a ridiculous thing to carry around.
Oh, I think it's quite a viable option, as long as you know how to use it.
Yeah, well, if you got to clarify, if you got to give something a massive excuse, like as long as situations are perfect, it's the perfect thing. It's ridiculous. You don't get into gunfights in the shooting range or at a freaking quick draw competition. You get into them when you wake up on the ground with stars in your head, going off, and you're figuring out, oh, I must be getting the crap kicked out of me right now. So I'm just gonna pull this old cowboy gun out of some kind of rig, and then cock it, and then have 6 rounds maybe.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I would hate to get into a gunfight with one of those single action shooters, though, man.
I don't know.
Pretty.
And there's the situation where 6 rounds later, how you reloading that thing? A single action revolver doesn't swing out. A single action revolver is load through the stupid loading gate, each single chamber, and then reload.
Not all of them.
Pretty much all of them.
No, Schofield didn't.
A Schofield is a single action?
Yeah.
Right, so now Bob's carrying around the oldest of guns as his carry gun. This isn't, is it viable? Does it work? Does it operate as a machine? This is it a good choice for defense?
Quite a few of the most famous gunfighters carried the Schofield because of its rapid reload capability.
Yeah, please. In the 1800s. So this is ridiculous. Now Bob's going to suggest that a Model T Ford is the perfect cross-country vehicle because it has wheels.
It could be because you can repair it with a pair of pliers and a hammer.
See? So that's the people we're having the discussion with here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tony was saying on the gun channel side, carry more than one gun. But that's still, you only got 12, and then you got to reload.
Everyone should anyway.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm kind of torn between both of you guys. I feel like it would be good as maybe a backup option, a third option, something like that, but not as primary. I wouldn't just say
here's what's not even good as a second. Now, if you want to consider an NAA, a tiny little gun that takes up no space, as a third backup or like a completely backup, then it's hard to dispute because it's so small and potentially effective. But if you're going to a backup gun, how often is that because you're in an extended gunfight where you ran out of ammo in your first gun? Rarely. Occasionally, because you jam up or break your first gun, great. But more often than not, it's because you can't get to your first gun because you're laying on the ground getting the shit kicked out of you, or you fell down between like a car and a parking barrier or something, and that's the only one your arm can get to. And again, you've just crippled yourself by requiring that you have to cock back that hammer and then do that every single time. And so now instead of saying, get off of me, bang, 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 you're like, let me fumble around and try to operate my thumb in a time when your fingers go from gloves to mittens. Let me operate this gun that takes all kinds of dexterity that Bob even acknowledges has to be practiced in order to even operate. And then you're supposed to, in a austere condition like that, weird position, having to shoot at an odd angle. Now you're handicapping yourself by giving yourself the oldest fashioned technology you possibly can get.
I say all guns should be practiced and you should be knowledgeable about how to work them.
Yeah, well, I say that real life doesn't wait for you to be able to show everyone how awesome you practiced at stuff. You practice so that you can deal with things in the worst possible conditions. And if you're going to pick a machine that doesn't even operate in those conditions, you're deluding yourself. You can't practice a gun to work differently. You can't practice away the fact that you got to have a giant hammer on there and it has to be cocked back between each shot, that you have to readjust your shooting grip. There's no possible way to shoot quickly.
Yeah, there are.
You can just practice it getting faster at the complicated operation of it, the complicated manual arms.
And aren't most gunfights over within 3 rounds? I mean, isn't that?
I don't practice. I don't carry for that one. I carry a single action Derringer if I carried for that. I carry for the most extended thing that's never happened before.
That's why I carry my Sig as backup.
Oh, now he's singing this.
I didn't say you wouldn't carry a backup. I didn't say what kind of backup.
All right, so Bob's in Fantasyland. I'm in reality. Jimmy dances between the two.
Actually, that's well put.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to gun stuff. I think we solved that. Throw away those those single action revolvers. Or send them to Tony. He likes them. He seems to really dig them. Bob, you can't send them to because he refuses to be an American. So gotta have to send to Tony.
Closer every day, the longer Trudeau's in power, believe me.
So you're welcome. Tony thanks you for the new guns. And we'll move on to Glock accessories. So much more relevant topic. And before we do, we'll take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day. Feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. We're doing a thing. I was looking at Patreon because we just did the monthly, whatever the month ended, so everybody gets charged for Patreon. I was over there looking and checking out some of the channels that we support, and that's what I figured we do for the next. I kind of have them sprinkled in here over the next few weeks. We'll go through some of the channels that we support over on Patreon. Obviously now I'm getting hit by the whole YouTube knocking down gun channels BS, but as we transition into different platforms, as we all know, no platform lasts forever. So this Patreon seems to be a potential revenue source for channels that are, have production value, that have some level of production that requires costs. So we've subscribed to quite a few channels over on our Patreon. And when you're on Patreon, at somebody's main page like this, you scroll down on the right side, at least at this point, you scroll down on the right side and you can see who they are supporting. So we're going to talk about today CN Arsenal. So CNR, like we were talking about yesterday, the CNR Collectors FFL license. The CN Arsenal is a channel that a guy, I guess, had a CNR. I don't know the history of it. Maybe you guys do better, but I think he just had a CNR, right? And he was having a YouTube channel and people appreciated it. And I think he was doing stuff on the Reddit, and he got to where people were saying, hey, let us support you. He put up a thing on Patreon here, and now he's got almost 2,000 people supporting him to the level of $5,500 a month. And that's allowed him to blossom, so to speak, into basically full-time production of videos. And they've got a lot of guns. I don't know if there's a picture in here of all their guns, but I'm sure people that are familiar with it have seen the selection they've got. And they go through and do in-depth videos and research each of those guns, right? Kind of have this one in here for Bob. I know he watches it more than I do.
Yeah. It's great. Really good production quality. The host and the hostess are quite entertaining. The woman, I think her name's May, does most of the shooting. And she's really good. I mean, she's even shot that German anti-tank rifle. And she's not a big woman. The guns really well. She obviously is well trained, and she has some pretty interesting opinions on them. But yeah, I really like it because it's really taking the whole First World War type guns. And I mean, their plans are to continue with this, the whole, I don't know what you call it, the way that's set up. And they're just going to go through. So eventually they will be doing World War II guns, which is going to be quite interesting. A little more variety and a little more flavor there. But yeah, the World War I stuff, because it's historical, I love it. And yeah, this is one of my favorite channels, to tell you the truth.
So it sounds like they're doing them chronologically now, or in some sort of order?
More or less, and they kind of go, yeah, when the guns were, I think, issued, And then they will also go through like country by country. So they'll do, you know, all the pistols of Austro-Hungary, and, you know, all the pistols of the British, and so on and so forth. So it's I don't think they're going like as they're issued during the war, but they may be at this point. But yeah, it's just a lot of it. It's when they can get guns too, because they will borrow guns in order to show them if they don't have that model. They do have a very extensive collection, but, you know, like anybody, they don't have everything. But they show some really unique firearms. So, yeah, well worth a look and a support for sure.
Well, we support a lot of channels over there. Like, say, we'll be talking about some of them here. Some of them I like, some of them Bob likes. I don't know what Jimmy likes, but we've got an assortment there. And what I really like about C and Arsenal, it's a super good example of a bunch of people who just pursued their interest. It got to a point where a good balance where people enjoyed it to the level to support it, and then they were able to be in a position to continue on and, you know, use that support to channel back into the production. And it's grassroots. It's something that, you know, nobody at a TV studio, if they would have brought this concept along, hey, let's get a couple of interesting people and put some animations together and let's set this up. Number one, it would have cost a million times more than the $5,000 or whatever that it's costing them. And number two, all that money would have stayed in Hollywood paying a bunch of jerks who hate guns instead. And the other thing is, it would have, even if it got pitched and it would have cost a lot, it would have never got pushed through, right? They just don't care about guns. They have an agenda against them, and it wouldn't be enough share of the market to justify wasting their precious single channel, you know, single show at a time, old-fashioned way of doing things. Where this is people who are interested, so they're super passionate, knowledgeable about it. They're refining their interest in it based on the participation of their audience or whatever. Obviously, if they were only able to do this as a hobby, we'd see a trickle of guns coming out from them, probably still because they enjoy it, but they'd never grow the way they're growing as far as knowledge. And, you know, as you research these guns, that means they're discovering new sources of information, right? New places to research. So that means they're going to be able to go back and look at old guns in these new places and get even more information. So, you know, it's going to broaden their scope. So we're helping them to do better at what they're doing. And then everyone gets to benefit by watching it develop and, you know, being part of the development of something instead of being a formula that they know is going to make money and they've got some, you know, sold to some sponsor or something already. And then it's just cookie cutter it and put it out there. This is something that you get to watch develop. It's also inspirational because since it happened with just regular people doing their thing that they're interested in, and no one could have really said 2 years ago, 5 years ago, if someone were to build a really good World War I gun channel, with, you know, that'll be money. So, you know, it found a niche that people wouldn't even necessarily known was an itch waiting to be scratched. And, yeah, who knows what other things are out there. So, you know, start or continue to do whatever you're doing out there. Or if you're thinking about doing something, give it a shot, you know. So I think it's a good inspiration for that.
I was just going to say, I definitely, that's why I definitely appreciate when you started doing this whole going through your Patreon thing. It's going to open me up to a bunch of new channels. So
we give them $1, so they're probably getting about 60 cents from it. So I want to thank the people that are participating in us, because I don't have that money. That's your money I'm spending on them. But it's 2 reasons. One, to let them know that there's people out here. And the way that it works is that 60 cents accumulates, and now they got $5,000 over there. So it's letting it know that way. But also, if anybody goes to our Patreon page and just looks around, they'll see that we're supporting 34 channels. So those 34 channels, I mean, I don't know what kind of traffic we probably, you know, a medium amount of traffic as far as Patreon's concerned. But at least the people that do come by and are interested enough in gun stuff to scroll down our page a little bit, they're going to be directed off to 34, 36, whatever it is now, pretty much all gun related. There's, I think, 2 in there that aren't necessarily only gun, maybe 3 that aren't only gun, but they're like either comedy, science, or political channels that do talk about guns favorably occasionally. So I'll pay close attention to those because I don't like wasting anybody else's money. If those channels don't stick around and do gun stuff on a regular basis, then we'll quit supporting them. But try to do a well-rounded and also diverse as far as size. We got like Military Arms Channel and Yankee in there who are making a ton of money. We got Forgotten Weapons and In Range, who are some of the largest channels on Patreon. And then we've got channels like, well, Early Watch. You guys have just a few. And, well, Bob doesn't have one, but we have individuals all the way up to the biggest channels over there.
Yeah, I can't figure out how that shit works. So.
All right, so that was our nod to member of the day. In this case, the Patreon supporter or Patreon channel of the day, I guess. And we'll move into the gun stuff. And we asked for questions on Monday, or we asked the question on Monday of what you'd like us to talk about this week, and somebody suggested Glock accessories. So we're going to talk about accessories for the Glock today. Where do we want to take this one?
Ooh, the never-ending topic.
Mm-hmm. So I think that this one is at this point, and it's still this way, if a gun company is going to make an accessory, whether it be for the muzzle or the trigger or the hammer or the grip or the magazine or the holster or the sights or whatever it might be, even the barrel and the slide, they're going to make it for Glock, and then they're going to make it for whatever other guns they actually planned on making it for. So they might be Beretta people or HK people or SIG people, but they're going to make it for a Glock first. So that for that reason, you basically have your option of anything, pretty much literally everything ever made when you go with the Glock platform.
Yep. No, I don't even know how many companies make. I think every company that makes lights and lasers makes them for the Glock. Everybody that makes those like weird the scope that you could put on the pick rail and put that down on the, or put it up over the slide to put an optic on it or something. RMRs, triggers. I mean, there's, you name it, they got it.
Yeah, aren't they the AR-15 of the pistol world, basically?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe even more. They even make little tiny bayonets for Glocks.
Yeah, I prefer a more modern version of the polymer gun than the Glock.
The Glock doesn't have enough polymer for Bob. He prefers even more polymer.
No sense going halfway.
Anyway, so we're talking about accessories, not Glock hate. So you got accessories that, you know, deal with the interface with the shooter. Then you've got accessories that make the shooting itself better, enhance the shooting. So like lights and sights and things like that. So then you got your ergonomic stuff, your grips and your stippling and your, I don't know, mag extenders or mag well flared things. I guess you don't really attach those to Glock so much. So that's
no, yeah, they have one of those now where you could pin it in that little back channel, and you could
that's
like
right.
pin it in. Yeah.
Yeah, they go up that gap in the back there.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that Glocks don't have that some other the old-fashioned guns have. Where the old-fashioned guns were made out of metal, you'd have to put some sort of wood or bone or leather around the metal so that it didn't, like, the temperature, the sharpness of the metal didn't hurt their old tender hands back in the day. So they would have grips on them, where the Glock just has polymer all around, super comfortable and ergonomic, so they don't need grip panels.
We make grips out of horn and stuff like that.
Yeah, anything to keep their delicate little hands off of the scary metal. So, yeah, wood or...
You know, at cold temperatures, metal will actually stick to bare skin, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So your gun actually injures you.
Unlike the plastics that shatter at cold temperatures.
I don't think you can get that cold of a temperature on this planet. But you're right. Technically, if you were to take it into outer space, super extreme conditions.
So you admit, Glocks would be no good in space.
No, I said super outer space, which is even more than space. That's like way out there.
Like Pluto outer space.
Oh no, way further than that. Beyond the any galaxies out into dead.
Anywhere in outer space. That polymer would get hard and crack. Yeah. See, you need a metal gun if you were going to go out and have space wars. That's probably why Star Wars used the Mauser as the basis for the blaster. And not a Glock.
I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff. Like they make those. Going back to the accessories, they make like those back plates. Like I've seen the ones with like the Punisher face on it, and then like the flags on it and stuff like that. I had one of those actually. The snake. Don't step on snake. Snake. But yeah, I mean, there's like you were saying, though, there's tons of stuff from something that'll actually help with the functionality. You know, the drop-in trigger or something like that, or something that just does aesthetics. I mean, honestly, the list can go on and on and on. Well, we could probably find an end to it at one point. But.
Well, I'm not a big fan of changing out the backplates for cosmetics, but then that made me think of some of the additions that I just saw one. I think Gunner, somebody put it up. Big Gunner put one up about a thingy that you clip on the back of a Glock, and it kind of goes in there and doesn't let the trigger click, basically.
Oh yeah. It'll raise that back plate up if the trigger's getting pulled at all.
No, it just pushes a little jobby in there so that the trigger just is dead. It basically just disengages the trigger set at all, so that you can just pull the trigger as much as you want. I guess for dry practice or some sort of other practice of manipulations, drawing, or I don't know what applications you might need it for, but plenty of things in a classroom or in a training situation where you don't want ammo in the gun. And you, with a Glock, seeing it's a double action, effectively double action only, it's a striker fire. You have to reset it. So you'd have to pull back the slide a little bit. Normally, once you pull the trigger on a Glock, it'll go dead. It is waiting for its operation, its normal cycle, right? So then the slide has to go back and forward to reset the trigger. So if you're just practicing or screwing around with it, then you need to constantly be pulling back on that slide in order to reset the trigger. And with this little gizmo that I'm talking about, at least you can, it just never, the trigger never dies. It never goes back and clicks. So the trigger is just effectively like a toy gun, or like a double action only, where the trigger just goes back and forth as much as you want, or like a double action only where you pull the hammer back, so the trigger is just sloppy. So like I say, it's mostly a training or demo type of situation, but just that again, the Glock is like the gold standard, or it's like the median. So there's so many of them, and so many people are active with them, that they can build accessories like that. That obviously that particular accessory wouldn't work with any other gun, but there's things like triggers because of that specific situation with the Glock and other striker fire double action onlys, where the trigger dies when you pull the hammer back. If it's not loaded, then you're never going to get that trigger to reset without some kind of external change. So that sometimes I have a trigger set that you pull your trigger out of a Glock and you reset it, or you put in this reset trigger, and it effectively makes it like one of the red Glocks, one of the Glocks that are made to have a reset trigger. It's basically putting one of those triggers into a standard gun so that you can, again, use it for training or for practice. But again, that's the kind of thing that I don't know if it's even possible in 1911, but I've never seen anybody try to make one for 1911. It might not be the, mechanically might not work, but I would suspect on most of the other polymer guns that you don't see those kind of accessories for. It's because nowhere near enough guns have been sold. The Glocks are effectively the same inside for most of the models, certainly the large size frames. So since those are the ones that are issued and so many people carry those, they can make accessories like that that are, not necessarily everybody's going to get those accessories, but because there's so many people that own Glocks, even if only 1% of the people buy it, you can still have a successful company building an accessory like that. Where if you tried to build an accessory that only 1% of Beretta owners own, you're never going to pay the bills.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like 3 people buy your product. Yeah. And that's the thing about Glocks, man, is that's why it'll never run out of accessories, because everybody gets them. Not everybody. There are a few. Are wrong.
Yeah, they got that reputation of being a reliable, robust gun that functions all the time, even though that's not quite true. But I mean, I'll give it that they're a good, reliable gun, and they are fairly inexpensive, and they're light to carry and everything. But
all right, man, boy, quit raving about the Glocks. We understand.
We get it.
They're adequate.
Well, no, but that's what, like you said earlier, they're like the AR-15. I never heard of pistols, but I never heard that one. But I have heard them compared to like AKs, because you can beat the heck out of them and they'll still run them dirty, run them dry, they'll still run. Don't matter. That's why I like Glock anyway.
Somebody out there saying, would you buy a Chinese Glock? I don't think they make one, because I don't think China really does a lot of polymers right now. But if they made one, I would. Probably about $150.
Did Bob just say that China doesn't make polymers?
Well, I don't. Not a lot. Most of the
They don't really get it. They don't dabble in plastics. They're not into that kind of tech. You don't see a lot of
most of their knockoff guns are real steel guns.
Except for their
I
ARs.
feel like we have solved this one. You're right. The Glock is the best gun to buy as far as accessories are concerned, and you're welcome. So that'll take us into the next segment of the show. I thought I'd note over here, though, that Ghost, thanks for suggesting that people thumb us up over there. We've got 11 thumbs up, 22 people watching, so it's a 50% ratio. I'm able to do the math in my head on that one. So he was urging people to thumb it up. And Robert brings up a point that thumbs up is a reward at the end. And that's, I never heard that position before, and I can understand someone thinking that, but I'd like to use this analogy. If you go someplace like a live event and you refrain from clapping during the event, until the end to give them it as a payment or a reward or a thank you for the actual complete presentation, then you risk having a shitty presentation. Because think about anybody, if you've ever spent any time on a stage or something in front of people, if you're up there and you get no response at all from the people out there, you're gonna start going slower and wondering what you're doing wrong, and if there's some technical issue, or you know what I mean, you're gonna be distracted. Where if you get just a, you know, the typical, you know, courtesy applause at the end of a thing or after a joke or something, some laughter, that participation and the level of it is what sometimes makes a show. So you watch a concert or a comedy show, and half the time it's the venue, like where it is, because some audiences are just better than other audiences. Some audiences act like a bunch of millennials, and other audiences, you know, are cool. They remember what a rock and roll concert's like, and, you know, being part of it. So you get into, I've seen some concerts where the audience just sits there like a bunch of millennials, and the concert kind of blows. It sounds like you're listening to a, you know, record or something. But you get into a situation where the audience is, you know, really egging the band on, and that performance is typically going to be stellar, right? That's going to be the extraordinary performances when the audience is out there feeding it. So same thing with these podcasts and stuff. If you consider the thumb up a reward at the end, I mean, obviously you have all the right in the world to do it that way. I just suggest if you do it right away when you join a room, that's giving them some encouragement. Like, hey, I'm here, and I thank you for it. Now, if they suck, feel free to uncheck it and maybe even flip it over to a thumbs down. I'm not saying that you have to like everything just because it's in front of you, but I just figured I'd bring that up because I had never thought about using the thumb up as a reward after. I almost always click it as soon as I join a room to say, thanks, I'm here. What do you guys think? Or did you ever think of that about that kind of thing?
I've never thought about it in that aspect, like the whole, if you run a good show, you get a thumbs up. I mean, I don't know. I thought about it the second way you were saying is, you know, people thumb it up if they want to, and then if they don't like it at the end, take it away, or thumbs down or whatever.
Yeah, because the thumbs up kind of help us get views, right? Like even while we're live, is that how it works?
I don't know.
You're saying if thumbs up, like if we're live for an hour and we get one thumb up, that Google is going to go, eh. But if we're live for an hour and every single person who's watching it thumbs it up, so we have a 100% ratio, then Google will go, wonder what this is all about. At least that's the way I assume the logarithm works.
I guess. I don't know.
Now, there's probably, once you get to rooms that are full and have 100% participation, then they probably start to rank, okay, this one has 1,000 people watching, this one has 100, and this one has 1, and this one has 10,000. But, you know, if it's just a situation where here's a bunch of rooms that are all doing things at different levels of participation, and here's an actual metric. Here's one that has 100% thumbs up. That's not typical, so I would think that would stand out as, oh, here's somebody who's must be doing something interesting or unique. What are you doing? Shut up.
But no, yeah, I hear you. I usually, me personally, I'll usually, log on to something or walk into something and see what they're talking about first. And if they're not, I don't know, completely wrong, I guess, or whatever, just don't make sense, I'll like it. Especially if it's a live hangout like this or something.
All right, well, so I guess we can move along into the next thing. What do we want to hit next?
Do we have anything for training? It looks empty. I don't know if you guys got something. Otherwise, we can move into the gun or the gun movie.
I just put that gun movie in there because I watched it the other day.
That was a good one, though. Isn't that the one? Well, we might as well talk about the gun movie then.
Okay, so every day we like to talk about a movie that's gun-related, ideally, that you might not have seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', it's one you ain't seen yet. And this one is called FX. Like just the two letters stands for special effects, but it's spelled like Foxtrot X-ray.
But yeah, then that was the one where they took the special effects guy. It was the FBI or something like that for like some mission. Hold on,
yeah,
let me look at it.
Some government agency comes up and says, "You're a good special effects guy. Can you train our guys to make it look like this guy got killed, so that we can put him into witness protection or something like that?" And then they're like, "Oh, okay, thanks for figuring this out on such short notice, but you're so good at it. Why don't you just do it?" And then that's where the special effects guy gets into the crazy world of spying or whatever. So yeah, super cool. So basically, a guy drives around a bread truck being like MacGyver, but this was in the mid 80s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And at least for me, this is a time when camcorders were around for a little while already, so that as our parents and other people were buying like the newer 8mm smaller camcorders, the old VHS ones that were huge, like giant suitcases that had cameras on them, those things were actually obtainable and available to us as kids. So we were just and on the computer side, they had just come out with the toasters, so you could put graphics and words and stuff on top of your video and then edit them and stuff in a computer. So all that was happening at the time when like Friday the 13th and all them like movies were coming out and becoming real popular. So this was still before CGI. So there was a big like push. These movies were getting better and better special effects by the guys collaborating and basically getting paid more and more to make interesting special effects. So for us, this was a movie about special effects at a time when it was actually possible for us as high school kids to be sitting there acting like we were trying to be this guy, doing our own special effects, making movies, cutting them, editing them. So this was super relevant to us. We figured like this basically mixing our expertise at making videos and then or movies, I guess back then, along with our ultimate knowledge of MacGyver stuff, and then mix in crime fighting, because we were all willing to crime fight on a weekend or something when we had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I like the fact lots of revolvers.
What?
I like the fact there's lots of revolvers in it, lots of wheel guns.
Well, it's from the 80s. They didn't really have anything else back then. That was the cool gun to carry around, as a little revolver, really.
Oh yeah, Python with a 4-inch barrel. Oh,
there wasn't really gun movies back then. So like movies that had a gun in them, it was either an M1 carbine or like a little 38 J-frame or 1911.
Yeah, there's lots of 1911s.
But this one movie is also awesome because of the Uzi at the end. I don't really want to spoil it, but there's a awesome Uzi situation at the end.
Yeah, with the what was that, Law and Order guy?
I guess so.
The Uzi standoff.
And it's cool because I just watched it the other day. He takes the Uzi out of the plastic, like blow mold and injection Uzi box with all the writing. So it's like, I guess the gangster might just keep it in his house in the Uzi box, but just kind of neat to see it come out of an actual Uzi box, just like if you bought the semi-auto one, you get in the same box.
But yeah, this is a good one. I would definitely give it a thumbs up and suggest people watch it if they get the chance.
Now, I think it's neat and everything, but it's not good. So I'm gonna give it a thumb up. If it was the 80s, I would have gave it a 2 thumbs up. So that was one of my favorite movies for a long time, but it's really bad. And special effects really did suck back then. Like when we watched this movie, I guarantee I thought that was awesome special effects. We thought this was so cool. And now it just looks really, really weak because everything's just gone skyrocketed since then. But still,
Yeah, but the stuff they have now, it's not actual real physical stuff. It's all CGI.
yeah, but it doesn't. Just being able to move along and have such realistic CGI that the plots can get way more intricate. Because back then, I don't know if you, I looked at this movie and I thought about it. There's a whole bunch of this movie that somebody was sitting there and said, this would be a cool gag or this would be a cool prop. And then let's write the story so that this happens. And it's just awkward and you can kind of tell. Where nowadays, since they can just blow this stuff away, they're not sitting around trying to, you know, they're not like, oh, we can afford to do 4 cool stunts, so let's make a movie that uses 4 cool stunts. Like now they can just make cool movies, and if it's a massive elaborate stunt, they just go to CGI and do it for free, you know. Or if it's something little, they do it real still. But this one seems kind of contrived, I guess. Like the story is not that good.
Yeah, the story is weird, but I don't know. I still think it's neat and worth checking out. Especially, I mean, I don't know. This is like cool stuff. They man-made it. They didn't have to use the computers or technology. It was all live on set. I thought that was kind of cool about it.
Yeah, and it was sort of an insight to the way they did it with that truck and everything, and the all the squibs and everything, the other kind of squibs.
Yep.
So then the thing is it's old, so if you watch it, guns in it. So that's kind of neat. It's kind of like watching old cars or something. You see all the old guns.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, G. It's 1 thumbs up just because it's a cool movie, but yeah, the story wasn't great. It was there was so many implausible bits that just couldn't really give it 2.
Yeah, and there's just computer stuff. If you like computer stuff, there's definitely some neat old ass computer stuff in it.
Cool. So that was the movie of the day.
All right, so every day we try to come up with a movie. If you've got some movies, you can always suggest them to us at dailygunshow@gmail.com. That's our email. You can give us suggestions for any topics or just feedback. All right, so next. I was going to say for training, why don't we just talk about Dano's project, since we got to try to keep it to an hour each day, or at least that's our goal, is to keep the show down to an hour. So we're going to sacrifice this topic, or at least the length of this topic today, and just remind people that Dano's doing a project. I guess he started out liking tactical response. Now he hates them. So he's trying to do like a hate piece on them, and he's looking for people to ask questions that he can use to twist into anti-tactical response.
Oh, wow.
Am I understanding it correctly?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, I can see that because Dano's, he's a little mercurial when it comes to, his relationships. So it can go from love to hate in a heartbeat. Yeah, so I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you just shoot Dano
Yeah.
like if you shoot Dano in the chest dozens of times and then laugh at him about it, it's all pissy about it. No, but he's gone to tactical. I guess he's gone there 4 times now, 3 times, I guess, as a student taking classes, and then a 4th time as an alumni, somebody who's taken classes to return to their yearly sort of workshops that they do. And I think he started out, when this is his 2nd training, I think he did some Masada Ayub stuff and then some local training. So this is his 2nd experience with national level tactical, you could say, or practical CCW type training. And I think that his opinions of it is maturing, right? It's developing. So I think he's trying to offer that insight to people who might be on the same situation as him, deciding how to spend a lot of money. You know, it's not cheap to go to these classes. So I think he's trying to offer a service. Sorry, I'm sneezing there. Offer a service to people. So if you've got a specific question, he'll try to give you an honest answer as possible. We're kidding around. He's not anti-tactical response. He's just pro real life, pro facts. So he's not getting paid by him, and he's also not a hater. So if you want just a straight down the middle pitch, you know, response to a specific question about tactical response, Dano set up a form over on his channel over on Gun Channels, and you can just click on that link, and there's a couple of place you can fill out a name if you want, so he has a person to respond to. Otherwise, you can do it anonymously and then leave him a question, short question, and that way he's got a list of them, and he'll do some sort of a project to address all those questions, and you can ask as many questions as you want.
Yeah, I think it's real cool. And like you said, cheap is not anything involved in that. It's not a cheap thing at all. So yeah, he's definitely doing a service to people out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've got to give him credit where he deserves it.
All right, so then we can move along. Shoot, I don't have a video made for gun shop of the day, so what gun shop should we do today?
Ooh.
I think we blew it off yesterday too, so we're not doing a good job of being a daily gun show.
What was your favorite one of the tour?
There's no favorites. There was too many. It turned out to be 60 shops altogether. A couple of those shops were closed, so I didn't get to go inside, but I still plan to do videos just about store hours and locations and things like that, and signage. There was a lot. I mean, there was everything from, I'd say the extremes are a little guy in Toledo, Ohio, who had a place called Reloader's Den, I think, or the Reloader's Source or something like that. And it's right off the highway. One of these things that's literally like you get off the highway and there's a little cloverleaf or whatever to get, on and off the highway with the exit ramps. And like where you would expect to see a gas station or something, there's this little strip center, and there's like a laundromat and a massage parlor and this guy. And it's just a tiny little shop, and his shelves were bare, and he's sitting there in a comfortable chair reading a newspaper, having a good old time. So, somebody who's probably just, that's his retirement, is having the shop to hang out in. And a real nice guy, told him what I was doing, and he directed me to some other shops in town that were, more in business, I guess you could say. So everything from that little tiny shop, I stopped by a shop in Arkansas that was, I just saw the sign on the side of the road. It was not much more than really a garage, not even a full garage, like one of those big, like a large size little storage shed you'd buy that look like little wooden houses, but are secure enough that you could put a, business in it. And that one was a little mail order type internet business, but you could technically drive into the driveway and park behind their house and walk into this little shed. So a couple of little ones like that, all the way up to that Bass Pro that they took over that pyramid, and there's like, I guess, a hotel inside of it, and it's an entire Bass Pro, and you can go up this elevator for $10 or something and go to the top and look all around Memphis. Then there was a couple of places, like this place called Vance in Ohio, big, giant store. There's a place in Tulsa, again, very large store, basically as big as a like a Popular Outdoors, not quite as big as a Walmart, but bigger than a typical gun shop. And those are single family run businesses that are huge, that put a Bass Pro or something to shame. So basically almost as large as a Bass Pro, but without any of the stupid, with much less of the stupid clothes and none of the perfumes and sausages and cheeses and shit that a Bass Pro wastes a bunch of floor space with. So yeah, hard to say a specific shop. I'm thinking as we go to Tulsa next week, that'll be fewer shops. It'll be a lot easier to come up with what was your favorite shop out of the last 4 or the last week or so, as opposed to the last 36 days of 60 shops. There was just over too many shops to try to keep track of.
I would say that's a lot. Yeah.
All right, so that's our gun shop of the day. We are working on the videos over there, so as those go up, we'll post the videos over here as our featured shops. Of course, the whole goal of that portion of the show, which is one of the reasons we started doing this show on a daily basis, is to remind people that you've got a camera in your pocket. You're carrying around a phone, and it's an awesome camera. And most gun shops, literally most of them, don't mind if you take pictures. So when you go into the shop, if you remember to do so, ask them if it's okay to take a few pictures to show people what the shop is like. And sometimes just giving people a flavor and a scale, you know, an idea of what the shop is like on the inside can be the thing that when they see that someone sees that on a Facebook or sees that on an Instagram or over on gun channels, and they happen to be driving past that place, it makes them think, oh, I'm going to stop in there. And maybe they buy a box of ammo or a cleaning rod or something. And, you know, you've effectively taken a picture and made them a couple of bucks. And more importantly, you've created some links out there in the internet that is going to help their website and their online presence to, you know, be more established. That's going to help them when Google comes along and somebody asks Google where a gun shop is. So I think it's an effective use of your time, and it's the way that we use this new media, taking content from the grassroots up, as opposed to disseminated from somebody with an agenda and the facilities to disseminate info, you know, from the top down. So this kind of participation is crucial. And as we see the channels, all channels getting kicked off of the YouTube, the platform, you know, changing, we got to remember that this isn't established stuff like the olden days. You know, like a magazine doesn't become established and then just be there as a foundational piece of our culture for a while. We're going to see these things last shorter and shorter amounts of time as we become more savvy with our tastes and our ability to reach audience. So be part of that change. And that's part of the reason our show is here, to inspire people to do that and encourage them to do so. We were talking about CNR. Those aren't people that said 3 or 4 years ago, here's a business plan to get to where we're making $5,000 a month on the internet. It happened. So, you know, they started doing what they liked, and it evolved. So be part of that.
Good point. Let's talk about the gun of the day. Seeing we're talking about CNR Arsenal, this is a type of gun that they have reviewed. It's the Lee Enfield No. 4. And as everybody knows, this was one of the longest serving battle rifles, or one of the longer serving battle rifles. Excellent gun. I mean, one of the fastest bolt actions ever made. A lot of that had to do with it cocked on opening rather than on close. Made a faster bolt. British were famous for the Mad Minute. 10-round magazine, that was pretty exceptional for its day. Some of the early ones were short magazines, were only 5, but still loaded off stripper clips. Pretty accurate, good round. 303 British is still a good round. It's got a fair bit of punch on it. So yeah, definitely a decent gun for its day. When you think it came out right after the Boer War. Actually, I think they started to use it, the 303 in the Boer War, but not the Lee Enfield. They were using the Lee Metford at the time, which had different riflings. But the Lee Enfield, excellent gun. They used to be common as hen's teeth around here, or more common. Hens don't have teeth. They used to be really common around here up in Canada. They have gotten less so over the years, and what ones you're finding now are usually ones that have been bubbed. So it's pretty hard to find one that hasn't been. One of those guns that's on my list to get. I've had them in the past, and you know, for whatever reason, sold them. But yeah, definitely a cool gun. And yeah.
You're talking about the late one?
What's that?
You're talking about the late.
The later war?
No, the Lego box.
Oh, no, not the Lego one. No. But no, I'd love to get one. It's got a lot of family history, and that it's kind of one of the guns that was utilized in both wars my grandfather and father were in. So yeah, one of those ones I just want to get hold of.
I got a couple of these guns. I just like to have them and not respect them because it bothers people who respect them so much.
Oh God. Jeez.
There they're English for one, and they got that strap around the back. So if they were so strong, why do they need that metal strap around the back?
Well, because they used to beat people to death with their rifles quite often, and they didn't want them breaking into pieces. Like
So I got one in 303. We got one in 303 and one in 308.
Yeah, I'd prefer to get the original 303, even though the rounds are a little more expensive. But
Is that one for people who shoot?
and this rifle is still being used in war today. I mean, it's quite common to find it in Afghanistan in the hands of both sides. I've seen pictures of it in Syria.
U.S. using these.
Well, not the U.S., but the Afghans that are actually on the U.S. side. It made it quite a respectable sniper rifle. Even though it had weird British idea to put the scope off to the side, but still worked. And like I said, you got 10 rounds. Like the Springfield only had 5.
What is it? Like a grappling hook or a grenade?
Grenade, yeah. That's how you fired a grenade, with a blank cartridge.
Look how strong that gun is. They had to wrap a bunch of wire around it.
Oh, for God's sakes. Yeah, that's why they used it for so long. I think the sniper ones were still being used into the late.
Just because poor people got no choice doesn't make it super good. It just means poor people don't have a choice.
Did the job. They won. The only one they lost was a bunch of ragtag rebels way across the ocean while they were fighting the French.
The other problem with this gun is it's bayonet stupid.
Not the bayonet.
What? It's a dumb bayonet. It doesn't even work all that good.
That's a wire cutter that Jimmy's showing you right there.
No, I know, but I'm saying they're bayonet. If I remember right, this thing is kind of a big roll thing.
Yeah, great big long thing.
I don't have one of them long. I would like one of them.
Yeah, those are cool. They're like having a little short sword.
Was that for when they were attacking horses?
No, well,
Being attacked by horses?
being attacked by cavalry, they would be used like a pike. So you form in your square, and you could still fire it with a spike bayonet on. But yeah, you got a bunch of guys in a square with those things pointing out. Horses are not going to charge into it. Horses aren't dumb.
That's back when a gun could still do that.
Right.
Break.
And they still needed
that blade off, but you just put another bayonet on it.
Yeah, and they needed to, right? Because back then cavalry charges were something that happened. But yeah, just a really interesting gun and great historical value, great historical piece. So I say I'd just love to have one, just to have it in the safe and take it out, a couple times a year.
In here, the only English guns he likes are the Sex Pistols.
So that's our gun of the day. So we'll see what happens tomorrow for our gun of the day.
These are okay guns. I buy them for like $50.
Oh man, we could buy them for like 15 when I was a kid.
Yeah, these
dirt cheap. Barrels, big wooden barrels full of them stuck in there every which way. Unbelievable. And those ones probably had served, Oh
yeah, I've been in cargo containers, like the backs of semi trucks, where they're just nothing but these shoulder high actions and wood stacked separately. I got pictures of them somewhere. But look at that bayonet. It's pointless. Can't use it as a knife or nothing. All goofy, and it picks on the barrel.
They carried your own knife. You use the bayonet for sticking people.
Yeah, but it's connected to just the end of your barrel, so it's going to get all bent up. I just don't like it. And you can use it as a knife even if you wanted to. So not so much as a knife, but as like stabbing people implement. There's nothing to hold on to.
World War I, they were stabbing people through the head with them.
But not off the gun. That's what I'm saying. Why not give them a little bit of something to hold on to so you can use it as a weapon off the gun? I'm not saying they have to stab the knife, but it should be at least, you can hold it. I mean, these are fine, but the normal one I'm used to just looks like a little metal nub at the end.
Well, it's like a Mosin bayonet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mosin spikes, yeah.
Just as pointless. At least with the spike, you can just hold the spike and jab it into somebody, it's not going to be comfortable. But with that one that I'm talking about, the little square metal looking one, you can't even really hold that very well.
That's true.
What Jimmy's played around with.
It did come with both, though. You could get both for them. So, I mean, it just depended on what model you were getting. But, yeah, very, very interesting gun. So, that's our gun of the day.
Yep. All right. So, with that, we can take a look at some gun history. You guys know of anything coming up on the gun history side?
Nothing I can remember.
Oh, I'm sitting here muted. Yeah, I was looking at the that military site here.
Looks like it says in 1841 the Second Afghan War began. What the hell does that mean? In 1861, Hickok loses his re-election in Kansas. So sheriff, he lost his re-election for sheriff in Kansas in 1861. Today,
Yeah, but then he made a YouTube channel in 2005. So.
Today in 1889, North Dakota was admitted as the 39th state, and South Dakota was also admitted as the 40th state. So 1889 is the anniversary of the Dakotas. The 1920, today in 1920, the first radio broadcast in the United States was made from Pittsburgh.
Really, who would have thought Pittsburgh was the hub of technical innovation?
Oh, yeah. 1921, racist Margaret Sanger and some other racist created the American Birth Control League. 1921.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood. There you go.
Well, they call it American Birth Control League first, yeah, and then it turned into that. You know, whenever it becomes unpalatable, they change the name, right?
Yep. And her stated aim was to eliminate the black people.
When was the first airplane flown? When was Kitty Hawk?
1907? No.
It was like early 1900s, right?
Yeah.
So in
It was 19 something, yeah, 1903, 1907, something like that.
Okay,
I
so
think it mixed up with Harley.
anyway, so that was when the first airplane even happened. And then today in 1926, so barely 20 years after the first airplane even flew, 20 years later, the Air Commerce Act is passed, providing federal aid for airlines and airports. So in 20 years, that tech, just, what do you call it? Like, not
Exploded, right?
loaded into where we needed to have regulations at the federal level.
Yeah, and it would have been faster. It would have happened faster, but the Wright brothers fought everybody else's innovations because they wanted the whole market to themselves. So they were litigating every other airplane designer of the day. Like Glenn Curtiss had terrible battles with the Wrights. Yeah, it could have been a lot quicker, except for the litigation.
Today, 1734, November 2nd, 1734, Daniel Boone was born. That's kind of cool. Kind of discouraged that I haven't seen that going around on Instagram or nothing. I'm going to have to make a thing for that one.
Yeah, really. Happy birthday, Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
I knew his mom.
And then Bob would be mad if we didn't mention that in 1961, Katie Lang was born.
Yeah, no, I don't like her. She doesn't like beef. Well, and Connery was saying that the BBC did its first broadcast in 1936. First BBC broadcast. So, yeah.
Hey, Bob, it's probably a good time now to go ahead and sing that song that you had planned on singing.
Was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and tall mouth was he. And young Boone was a man, yes, a big shoo. The ripplingest, roaringest, fightingest man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. What a boom, what a doer, what a dream come truer was he.
Yeah, what a badass motherfucker, though, huh?
Oh, you ain't kidding, man.
Yeah, born in 1734, sick of doing all kinds of cool stuff, and then walked over the mountains and traded half the country, and got sick of doing that and went down to the Alamo. Or did he go to the Alamo? Somebody else.
No, he was at the Alamo. He died there, yeah. But took a whole lot of Mexican troops with him. Him and his boys. He was a
I think we're talking about Bowie. I think we're talking about Bowie. He died.
No, Daniel Boone was there too.
Yeah, but he died from natural causes, acute ingestion, in 1820.
What? Daniel Boone?
Yeah.
I was sure he was at the Alamo.
But anyway, he's the guy who came over and created Kentucky, right? And then Missouri.
I'm thinking Daniel Crockett. Never mind.
It's Davy.
Yeah, Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett. You know, you guys all look alike to me.
You know what would have made Daniel Boone just a little bit better? Having one of these. Just a smidge. So everybody knows what that sound means. Time to crack your knuckles, whip out them keyboards, and get ready for the daily tactical pop quiz. Now, G-Wes, did you have a visual one hooked up? Otherwise, I'll just shoot over to the email and see what we got.
Oh yeah, give me a minute. I was over here looking. Yeah, we got Boone and Davy Crockett mixed up. Boone
I think
died.
it triggered out.
What?
Oh, okay.
What?
I triggered Alice. I triggered Alice. Never mind. Let's go on with the show.
I'm waiting for something.
Yeah, so everybody get ready for the quiz. And just on a side note, if anybody has any quiz ideas or questions or anything like that, any topics for the show, whatever, feel free to send it in to dailygunshow@gmail.com. We try to check those regularly-ish.
What's the pop quiz today?
We're visual. I'm starting it right now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a good one.
Okay. Is there an answer?
Probably.
So it's a visual. So anybody on the gun channel side, the first one that is watching the gun channel side.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, so we'll slowly scroll out. And the first one on the, what is all that noise? First one on the gun channel side to. Is that me or is that somebody else?
I think you were echoing off of Bob, but I don't hear it.
Stupid YouTube ad. And they'll only have the amount of time it takes for this countdown timer to go once. Getting any answers yet?
Moon is asking if that's a nutsack. I don't think so.
It's Bob's nutsack.
I know what it is.
I'm seeing the trigger. Patriot and Dark says CZ. No. Moon says Glock.
Moon wins. It's a Glock. Well done.
Congrats.
Wow. Oh, congratulations, Moon. That makes you the tactical hot shot of the day. There you go.
So where does that take us to now, gentlemen?
I think that takes us to the end of the show. We did pretty good time. We got Thursday, all kinds of stuff happening. Bob's going to keep screwing up with the microphone or something here.
Yeah? What? Me?
Got a Bob, right? What are you doing to the microphone? Anyway, today's Every Second Matters. So later on today, we'll be getting with Smeggy and Jimmy and putting up an Every Second Matters show. It's also Thursday, so I had planned to do an AK-47 podcast. I'll be trying to do that on the Gear website side, I guess. And then it's Thursday, so like I think you already mentioned, or you mentioned it on the old other show. Tac Daddy does his Gun News Weekly. Yankee has a show on Thursdays, every other Thursday. You're saying that's this week. And then Clover does his Thursday show. I think Ellis also does a show on Thursday that you refused to promote earlier in the day, but we're all about promoting Ellis's show. So, you interviewing Bob today?
I don't know. Yeah, it is by the time.
Hey, what time is your show anyway? Because
What time should your guest show?
yeah, you got to tell me this stuff like 4 or 5 times.
Well, see, that's the thing is that I go over to the live lobby schedule, right, where we can all go, and anybody that has their own channel.
It's up to the host's responsibility to put their own stuff in there, you're saying, so that everybody can promote their shows?
Long story short, yeah.
Yeah. So I hear you. So Ellis, go over there and put your show in the schedule. Bob, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Is it just when he leans forward?
I don't know, man.
Just when you
I
unmute
thought it was. I caught a little bit of an echo, so that's what I thought it was, but I don't know.
What now?
So, I don't know when Moon is doing his show either. So we want to plug Moon's Gun News Network, and it's been doing some takes on news stories, short and sweet, and it's a good show to listen to. It's Friday, so that means tomorrow, or no, it's Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Friday. It's Thursday, so that means tomorrow Jimmy is going to be gone, and Sean Ponry is going to run early watch tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Right, and then we'll be back here at noon Eastern, and that will, precede all the primetime stuff on Friday.
Oh yeah.
This weekend is the 2A rallies at your state capital. So if you're not already familiar with that, you can check out various things. Just type in the hashtag, the number 2, the letter A, and then rallies. Or is it? Yeah, it's just 2A rally, right? Or is it 2A capital rally?
It's 2A Rally 2017.
Okay, so it's the number 2, the letter A, the word rally, and then the date 2017. So 2A Rally 2017. We'll narrow you in on some of the Instagram posts that talk about it, and those will probably take you over to the stupid Facebook where Matt decided to waste time putting it on. And then there's lots of places there that are ineffective and hard to search that'll help you get in touch with people in various states that you're in. And then you can always use this as a training or practice for when you actually do it on gun channels where it would be a lot easier to deal with. But anyway, show up at your rally and be one of the people showing up. Be counted as somebody who's interested in the second, trying to show some awareness of it when we're not necessarily under attack, and maybe even push the share through.
Yeah.
Probably a good point to mention too. Expect some either antis out there potentially, but more likely some kind of media out there to cover the event. And everybody's acting real pessimistic, probably excusing their own laziness why they don't want to show up at something like this. Or just as a response to like, hey, this was thrown on me in less than a week ago. I didn't have any time to plan for it, and I can't get there, so I'm going to shit on it. But a lot of people have been suggesting that since not enough people will show up, it's somehow going to not be effective. That's not true. If any single person shows up and the place shows up, and you have effective communication with that news channel, then that was worth the time. I suspect more than just a single person will show up, so it's going to be useful for doing recon or intel to figure out how to accomplish a much larger gathering in the future if we need to. So it's a great time to get those skills if you don't already have them, or to challenge to practice those skills if you've used them before, And again, just encouraging people to consider showing up at your state capitol on this Sunday.
You bet. You guys have the resources, and you have the people behind you to keep your rights. So you better bloody well use them. Otherwise, you're just wasting them.
Yeah, you have to exercise them in order to really be using them. And shooting isn't exercising our rights. That's just the enjoyment of the rights, right? Exercising them is getting out to these places when we need to be and be heard.
Absolutely.
All right, so well, let's wrap this up so we're not too far over an hour, and we'll do the quote. I don't think we have anything else, do we?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, today's quote's going to be by George Washington, your first president, and the leader of your rebel terrorist army that overthrew the rightful rulers, the King of England. Just kidding. I actually kind of glad you guys did that. All right. So before that, I just want to remind everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you can. If you can support us on Patreon, please do. Other than that, let's get on with the quote. The basis of our political system is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitution of government. That's George Washington. So think on that one, guys, and we'll see y'all tomorrow for Friday's show. Peace out.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.